Hey, everybody, here with Andy Richter today. We are talking all about the entertainment industry, how to take your power back through comedy and mental health. What else, Andy?
TV shows, tricking people into therapy sessions.
With you.
Yeah, with me. Kissing men in parking lots.
Not just any men, Sacha Baron Cohen.
Sacha Baron Cohen, yeah.
A lot of men would want to kiss him.
That's
a lot
true.
of women would like to kiss him.
That's right.
And so much more, friends. So don't forget to hit subscribe, and we'll see you soon. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Better Together. When you know better, you get better. That's what we do here every single day. And we are getting better, and we're doing it together, which is fun. Our quote of the day: laughter is the sun that drives winter from the human face. Kelsey, explain.
Well, I thought it was kind of nice. I was like, I'm like, you always talk about how, laughter is healing and comedy must rule. And I feel like with our guest today, he's very much in that same boat. So I was like, I love it.
Okay.
I thought I was like Googling, comedy, mental health quotes.
I'm dead right now. That's from Victor Hugo. So I just want to know what winter from the human face looks like.
I think it looks like sadness. That's what I would guess.
But that's if you interpret winter as sad. Some people love winter.
True. I think I'm thinking of it in terms of like seasonal depression disorder, like how people get that when it is winter.
I see it as like, when you're ruddy and everything's like red and like you have the like winter burn.
Oh,
that's kind of my visual.
Oh, I like
Pooj,
that.
do you have a visual?
I was thinking more along the lines of Kels. Like, maybe it's just because I get sadder in the winter.
You're not winter girls.
Yeah, I'm not a winter girl for sure.
Okay. All right. Very interesting. Laughter is the sun that drives winter from the human face.
And you get more pale in the winter, So
yeah, I know.
Yeah, that's true.
This is hilarious. I love when a quote smacks me in the face like that. Oh, and how funny. We're talking about winter leaving your human face. Anyhow, what up, Heal Squad? Thanks for joining us. If you are new to the Heal Squad, welcome, friends. This is what we do here every day. We bring in amazing guests, whether they're doctors or healers or gurus or thought leaders, anybody who can help us get better in all the areas of life. This is your life improvement show. It's your getting better show. And we do it together. So it's a lot more fun that way. I'm coming to you from Connecticut. The girls are in Los Angeles. And I'm going to tell you about a harrowing rescue this morning here in Connecticut. So it rained yesterday. So I'm cranking the umbrella in the backyard, the dining table umbrella. And as it's opening up, I see something in the corner. So there's like the metal rods that like spread the umbrella out.
Right.
And it's a frog, and I'm cranking, and the frog's getting more squished.
Oh,
into the umbrella. So I'm like, what's happening? So then I unhook him, and I go over and I put my hand there, almost like you would with a bird, when a bird would like just hop on. He hopped on.
No way.
And then he kind of cuddled himself.
Oh.
Like he put his little frog arm around himself. And I'm like, oh, hi, guy. I got you. And I was kind of inspecting his body. He looked okay. Luckily, they're very mushy. So I think he was able to mush and then unmush. And then he didn't want to leave me. It was really cute.
Wow. I feel like that's so unlike frogs, at least the ones that I met in Connecticut. They're just like bopping away. Wow.
Well, he's a toad. Because the frogs are green, the toads are like, he looked like concrete with like herpes on him or something.
Oh, poor little guy.
But he had a mustard yellow belly and legs. Anyway, so I had to be like, dude, I got shit to do. So I put him into the bushes where he would be safe. Then we rescued. Kevin had it like a freak attack. The two were right by the pool and they might fall in. I go, who are you?
Oh my God.
Like, he was like super worried. Then there was another rescue attempt because, oh my God, there have been a lot of rescue attempts. We're gonna get into our interview with Andy Richter, by the way, friends. Let me just tell you before I give you all my animal stories from Connecticut. But Andy Richter, who you guys all, I'm sure, know, actor, comedian. He was the longtime comedic accompanist to the great Conan O'Brien.
Mm.
So we're going to be chatting with him today about mental health and so much more. But before we get to that, I'm going to finish 2 more quickies. So my dad is chopping these trees down here because he's going to add on to one of our sheds so we can put all of our patio furniture in there. And then eventually we want to build a pickleball court. So he's cutting all these trees down so we can flatten that. And so, we're envisioning having this for like events and, fundraisers and stuff. So, all right. My dad starts cutting a tree. I'm on this like very important FaceTime and the tree goes down. Now I remembered he told me that there was a huge nest in the tree. So I was like, what? So I ran over and I'm trying to like flip the nest over to see if there's anything in there. Thankfully, it was empty, but it was probably like a hawk nest back in the day that was just not being used right now.
Damn, I forget.
And then there was
Connecticut's just like full of nature. It's the wildlife there is ridiculous.
Oh yeah, someone saw a bear on my birthday just down the road.
Oh my God.
So we have bears. There was a mountain lion that walked through the backyard like a month ago here. And this bird made a nest in the front porch in the lights. And one fell. Actually, a couple fell, my dad said, over time. One we rescued, and I'm trying to like wedge him back up into the light so that he can be up there, and he keeps trying to fall out or jump out. I'm like, dude, you can't be with me. Like, I don't know how to raise you.
Oh,
It's a lot of intensity going on here.
a lot of rescuing.
Wow.
Yeah, a lot of animal rescue. I'm trying to see
I wonder if Andy's ever rescued an animal.
I'm sure he has.
We'll have to ask him.
Yeah. Anyhow, I have to find my phone because it's buzzing somewhere here. In the meantime, let's take a quick break and we'll be back with Andy Richter. I'm such a coffeeaholic. We got a farm down here that that has some, really good fresh dairy, and their heavy cream is like crack. So mix a dollop of it with the almond milk, and I'm like, this is so good.
Yes. No, it's Will Arnett's a friend of mine, and it's so funny because he's very healthy, except it's always half and half in the coffee, which I guess is like a Canadian thing. Like Canadians are like, well, that's one area where skimp, if you're going to drink coffee, you're going to put something in it. It's going to be half and half.
Yeah. You know what? I'm not opposed to it. I feel like it's such a small amount. You're like, whatever, it's not a big deal.
And listen, I mean, I'm certainly not one to be talking about healthy diet, but I do feel like, it's all moderation. I need to lose weight, but I just had a physical and everything's good. All the levels are good. Yeah, all the levels and everything are good. I just hate exercise. I hate cardio. Just hate
really. So what do you do? Do you do like walking?
I do walking. Well, I work out with a trainer. So I worked out with a trainer, and we would kind of, we do stuff that would keep my heart rate up while we're doing that. But now that I'm left to my own devices, it's like, I guess I could walk the dog up a hill, that sort of thing. But yeah, no, I'm not too good at it. I'm trying to get better at it, be more self-directed, but self-direction has never been a big, like it's never been one of my strong points.
Yeah. Well, it's like, you have to know what you are, right? Like I'm easily coached. I love being coached, and I'm very disciplined, but there are things that organization. I have to fight those demons all the time.
Yeah.
I hate instructions. Anything with instructions, I'm like, no, I'm going to just figure it out.
Yeah. Do you have attention stuff too?
Yeah, I think we kind of all do, to be honest. We all grew up with MTV, and it was all just so frenetic, and then it's only gotten worse since. Yeah. So
no, I know I have attention deficit issues, because both of my kids do. And like now knowing a little bit more about it, like my mom, definitely, she has ADD. She just, you didn't call it anything before. It was just like you were kind of a bad student, or you had trouble focusing, or whatever. You just learned to cope with it.
Do you feel like being able to have that kind of label helped you understand yourself better? Because I go the opposite way. I'm like, I don't want to be tested for anything. I'm just going to white knuckle through everything. The more I know, the worse it'll be. So it's better just not to know. Anxiety, me? Maybe I got a little anxiety. I don't know.
No, I like to know. And I mean, and I know, you had a cancer thing a while ago, and because I read an article about it, and I know, like, you were trying to not know, and then you had to know, right?
Well, it was benign, thank God, but it was a brain tumor. Yeah. And but
you kind of said, like, oh, I'm just working too hard. Like, that's the article I read. You're like, oh, it's just because I'm working too hard. But it's like, no, you're slurring your speech. Like,
I know. Yeah. I thought that, first of all, who's going to think they have a brain tumor?
I know.
So for me, it was like, I wasn't even, because, when you're working, you're so busy, everything's moving at lightning speed. You don't have time to actually sit and feel anything. And so symptoms were racking up, but it was just like, oh, I'm just exhausted. It's just stress. Oh, it's just this. Oh, it's just that. And then it's like, oh no, it's something totally different.
Yeah.
But
it's when you have that first big health scare of your life, then you're like, oh yeah, from now on, when something happens, I think I'll seek help out, considering. Yep. Yeah.
I know my doctor probably thinks I'm like crazy now, because I'm always like, so I'm having this thing, or I'm having this pain, or I'm on Google constantly just looking things up. And I'm like, what could this be? Because when you've had the craziest thing happen,
right,
you're like, well, something else crazy could be possible. Sure. So I gotta look out for this.
I might have monkeypox. You never know.
Oh my God, no. Oh man. I have to say, I've been starting my mornings at 5 a.m. I'm working on resetting my circadian rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
And someone who hates waking up early, like me, it's actually changed me for the better, because I have all this extra time in the morning to, meditate and read. And I was watching your Instagrams, and you made me crack up laughing. I'm in the woods by myself outside, like peeing in my pants laughing. And you were talking about how you were shooting a video, or you wanted to shoot a video in your backyard or something, and people were watching. And you're like, why? Tell the story, because it was so funny to me. Because I think we all do this, and it makes no sense.
I have a podcast called The Three Questions, and every week I've been trying lately to, just make a little selfie video promoting it, because it does make a difference in terms of like people watching it or not. And I'm just trying, and like with the people that I produce it, I'm trying to just get it promoted more throughout the week, rather than just putting it out there and then hoping that people listen. So I thought, oh, I got to promote I got a video, it's like another chore. Like, oh, I got to do this selfie. So, I was doing them in the car, like most people do them in the car, but then people are like, why are you always in your car? So I'm like, okay, go to my nice backyard and get some greenery behind me. And I started to do it. And of course, the first take was crappy. So I start to do it again. And then my neighbor comes out in his backyard, and, the houses are close enough that he's going to see me going like, hi, everybody. So
check out my podcast.
Yeah. So I just kind of stopped, and then I went to the car. And when I started taping it, I mean, I just like to kind of be honest about it. I said, well, I was going to tape it in the backyard. My neighbor came out, and I felt like a tool for making a selfie video promoting my podcast. And I said, so I'm here in the car now. And I said, and I know it's crazy because I'm putting the video on the internet. Like, everyone's going to see it. It's not like it's some dirty little secret thing that I'm just sending to one person. I'm putting it on the internet. So why would it matter that my neighbor sees me do it? And I don't know why, but it feels dirty. It feels like somebody catching you doing something, I just something like very personal or, unappealing. And that you're just like, oh, I don't want anyone to see me doing this.
I'm dying. Honestly, it connected so much for me. Girls, I don't know how you feel about that, or if you feel like that when you're shooting stuff because you're a different generation and maybe it's just totally normal. But for us, we still lived in a time where there were no cell phones. And, like it's just still strange for me too to grab a video in front of people and do it. And again, the whole goal is to have people watch.
Yes.
But nobody can watch when we're doing it.
But you don't want to, don't look at me doing it.
I was thinking because I thought about this a lot after. I had plenty of time out there. I thought about it after and I said, well, we're used to filming in front of just a few people that also know we're going to flub. We're going to have multiple takes as, for what we do. So maybe that cushion isn't afforded when it's a stranger and we have that kind of fear.
I don't, to me, it's like, I feel it just, to me, it feels like, and this might be a Midwestern thing. It feels like, well, la-di-da, look at that guy over there, doing his, like, what a vain idiot, taping himself. And I never, when I used to do stuff out in the field for the Conan show, and I didn't like it when strangers were walking by doing stuff, but I just kind of had to get used to it. And and there, at least you've got a crew. And so it's like, well, this is obviously this guy's job.
Yes.
Whereas when you're just going, hey, everybody, it just, and it's just because like everybody has a podcast. So it's just like, oh yeah, I'm one of those guys.
I'm one of
those guys. Check me out. I'm an influencer. Everyone should listen to me.
I'm dead.
One of the most embarrassing ones I ever had. I was in the movie Talladega Nights, and in it I played Sacha Baron Cohen's husband, and it's a NASCAR movie. And there was a scene where he and I were supposed to. It was supposed to be after a race, and he wins, and then he and I do a big kiss. And in the script, it was supposed to be like a big shocker to the because he's a Formula One guy. And he's gay and he's coming to conquer NASCAR. So it was supposed to be like everyone like, oh my God, it's two men kissing. And the day we're supposed to shoot that, they tacked it on the end of the day when we were shooting at a NASCAR bar in Charlotte, North Carolina. And they just set up a flat because it's outdoors and you just, like when you see someone winning a race, they're just standing in front of a flat with champagne or whatever.
Yeah.
And they just set it up in the parking lot of a supermarket was where we shot that. Like as we're losing light, we have it set up outside. So like I had, Sasha and I had to make out like 5 times as people in Charlotte, North Carolina are just like driving by with their groceries. Like, oh, there's 2 fellas over there smooching.
Oh so my God.
That was a little bit, that was a little bit weird. And it was made only slightly weirder by the fact that it was a man that I was kissing. If I'd had to been kissing a woman, it would have been weird too. It would have felt very, very
unnatural.
I just would have felt very it's self-conscious, like.
But Andy, that's the greatest movie of all time. So
thank you. Thank you.
So good.
Thank you very much.
And that's a great scene. So it's worth it for the story.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Was Michael Clark Duncan in that one too?
Yes, he was.
Okay, so I remember being on set there.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, did you interview him?
I think I actually broke Will Ferrell's knuckles that day because I was super hyped and excited. And I was like, you want to play Knuckles? And he goes, sure. What's Knuckles? I go, put out your fist. And he goes, okay. And then I went, boom, and smashed his knuckles with mine. I didn't know I was going to hit him that hard. He was like, ow. And then he grabbed Michael Clark and he goes, do it to him. That one hurt.
Yeah. That was a really fun movie to shoot. It was,
I'm sure.
Yeah.
But see, like those movies are done. That's like, it's so sad. And I'm sure way sadder for you. But in COVID, I was doing, outdoor movie nights and we would be watching Step Brothers and all these movies. And I'm like,
Yeah.
they're all gone. They're all too inappropriate for this day. And I'm like, am I ever going to get to laugh again? I know that we don't have to have inappropriateness to laugh. I know, but you know what I'm saying.
No, I know what you're saying. Well, I mean, it's hard to get things made that aren't, Will Ferrell's still going to be making movies. And and so you're still going to get comedies from him, but they're not as many because everything's got to be freaking superheroes now.
I know.
And everything's got to be IP, intellectual property. I mean, they'd be more likely to make a movie based on Cap'n Crunch than they would based on just some idea of like Will Ferrell and some, everything has to be something that already exists in order for it to be made. Yeah. So it's a lot harder for movies like Bridesmaids. I don't know if Bridesmaids, and that's one of the funniest movies. That's one of my favorite comedies of all time. Yes. And I don't know how easy it would be to make that movie now. And I know everybody says that kind of thing, but really and truly, Bridesmaids probably would be a Hulu movie now or an Amazon movie now if it were being made today.
Yeah.
Which is, okay, it'll still get made, but it's not the same thing. I mean, nobody knows what's going to happen with movies anyway. Since COVID, the theaters it's also weird. I haven't been to see a movie in a theater. My daughter made me go to Jackass. And then
I went to Jackass too. It was awesome.
That was the only movie I've seen in the theater. Well, no, I saw a screening of Licorice Pizza.
That was so good.
Yeah. But I'm not buying tickets to go see movies. I can wait a couple weeks until it plays at home, so I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen to movie theaters.
Yeah, I think they'll be fine. I think that also just like the comedy thing, the pendulum always swings the other way eventually.
Yeah.
So right now it's all Marvel, Captain Crunch, whatever. Eventually, because, you start to see movies and you're like even Licorice Pizza and you're like, oh my God, like a real movie again.
Yeah.
How cool.
Yeah.
So the thirst has to come back for that stuff. And it will. But comedies, like I just all day, I'm like, I Google best comedy. And I'm like, I've seen everything 15 times because I want to laugh in life.
Yeah. 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 It's hard. And also comedy, comedies, it's not easy to make a good one. I mean, you can make a comedy very easily, but to make it a good one is really hard. And even really good people, you look at anybody, any comedy, like name names, Tina Fey, Will Ferrell, Zach Galifianakis, Ed Helms, all these people that have made amazing comedies have also made some comedies that aren't so good. You know what I mean? Like there's nobody with a suit. If you have a high batting average, it means maybe 30% of your output is really, really good. Just because, it's really hard to, there's a lot of things that can go wrong. And there's a lot of stuff to control in a movie that gets out of your control, whether you're the producer or the writer or the star of it. It just, you kind of make it day to day and then you hope it comes out good. And, and I mean, because, I haven't worked on movies for a long time, just from doing Conan for the, last 11 years, 12 years. And, but I mean, there are plenty of movies I worked on. I was like, this is really fun. This is really good. And then it comes out and it's like, ugh.
Yeah. They edited it a little wrong.
Yeah. Or just didn't
work.
Come together right. I don't know. Like,
Yeah. So what are you in the entertainment industry? Are you excited for? Are you excited to do more comedy and movies and TV? Like, what are you looking for? I know you have your show.
Acting. Yeah. Acting is the main thing. And that was, like when the Conan show, it wound down about a year ago, and it was bittersweet. It was like, it was kind of time for it to go anyway. And I mean, and it ended, COVID made it end kind of in a nice way because we were taken out of the context of that studio and we finished up for like the last year in the Largo Theater in West Hollywood. So it was only like about 6 or 7 of us making the show. towards the end.
Oh, wow.
So it was just like Conan and I got to just hang out together for the last year. And we spent we were only there a couple hours a day, but we were with each other the entire couple hours. Whereas during, when we shot the show regular, I'd be in my office, he'd be in his office. We'd come down for rehearsal. We'd get dressed. We'd come out, do the show, and then we'd go home. So it was it was really nice. And people were so nice when it ended up. And so many comedians said so many nice things about what the show had meant to them, which is like a thrill when I think about all the shows as a young comedy person that meant so much to me and that were inspirational to me. To be one of those to then younger people is really, I can't ask for anything more, except I will, of course. I'll ask for a lot more. But one thing that was always, I set out, I went to film school, I did improv. I wanted to be in movies and television, and I wanted to be an actor in movies and television. And so, getting on the Conan show and being myself on TV was not anything I set out to do. I loved doing it, and it gave me a life and a career and, ability to feed my kids and send them to nice schools. But it wasn't what I set out to do. So now I do have the freedom to act more. Now I just need the act. I need the jobs to come because again, it's just really slow. And, and I would start firing agents, but I know it's happening to everybody. Like all my friends are all the same, that are sort of the same age and everything. They're all like, it's really, there's not 12 comedies on network television that are coming up every year. There's just a lot less comedy jobs. There's a lot less network jobs. But I'm not, I'm only, I only panic every now and then. But which I guess I was just talking, I was talking to Brett Gelman, the actor who's on Stranger Things now. And he's been on he's on Fleabag and lots of different things, but we know a bunch of people in common, and we were just talking about you never get over the feeling of like, well, I guess I'll never work again. I just, as long as you're doing this stuff, it always feels like, well, they figured it out. I'm no good, like it's been a fluke up until now. I've been pulling the wool over their eyes.
But that's like what comes with it that people don't realize is, there's so much sacrifice involved in it and so much you have to be able to take to do what you love. Yeah. And so, it's a scary thing. I definitely could never have done it full time in that way because I need that security to feel safe. Yeah.
And don't get me wrong. It's a sweet life. I'm not saying, like it's heroic or anything. It's just, we picked a job that's got a tremendous amount of rejection, that's got, that doesn't have a lot of stability compared to a lot of other jobs. Mm-hmm. I mean, my parents used to ask me, in between the late night show and going back to work for Conan in 2009, they'd be like, so what, I'd be working on something. They say, so what after this is over, what do you do? And I said, I don't know. And they'd be like, how do you do that? And I'm like, it's compartmentalization. You just take that fear and you shove it in a box and you put it away and you're like, well, I don't know what's coming, and I got a mortgage and I got 2 kids, but I just have to have faith that some job will come along and I'll do it. And you just, and if you do any kind of therapy, the idea is to avoid compartmentalization, you don't shove things into a box and put them away. You make your life one whole thing. You don't have a separate life with one person and a separate relationship with another person. I mean, and I'm not talking about I'm not talking about like having secret families. I just mean, you should be the same person you are at work that you are at home, just as a general kind of mental health thing. And, but with show business, you can't do that. You have to have the ability to just put all this anxiety and all this worry away. And also like a lot of the nonsense and the sort of the stuff that might make your ego inflate. You got to put that away when you come home, because that doesn't have any place at home. You can't come home and be like number one on the call sheet at home. Nobody cares, when you get home. It's like, your kids don't care much that you're on TV, really. And thank God. I've always said, like, imagine having a kid be your fan, like ugh, yuck,
Yeah.
I mean, my kids like me. I don't mean to say it like that, but I certainly wouldn't want them. I wouldn't want them to be too interested in what I was doing, because it just doesn't feel natural. I mean, you especially, when you put your emphasis on your kids forging their own identity, it's fine. I don't mind. It's, and also it's like, as long as my kids are nice, polite people out in the world, they can be whatever they want to me, and my people have always complimented my children, complimented me on my children, and said they're so polite and so thoughtful. And I'm like, well, they are to you. So I'm glad
that's
you
all
get
that matters.
Yeah, and that's all that matters. I'm glad you get to enjoy that, because boy, that's not the same thing at home.
That's funny.
That's how it works.
I wonder, Andy, then you must have had backup plans in your mind if things get close and I don't have a job and I have to pay the mortgage. What were those backup plans in your mind? I'm curious.
Well, throughout most of my career, I didn't really, they would be some other, if things fell apart, I could write on the show. I could, and I'm lucky to have lots of different things that I can do. Like I can host game shows. I can appear on game shows. I direct television commercials, which I haven't done very much of. And I was doing it when I could throughout the Conan show. But it's the time. It's just not enough time. When you direct a commercial, the clients want you to be around. And when I was on the Conan show, it would be like, well, you can have me all day Friday and mornings, Monday through Wednesday, and that just doesn't work that way. And I can write and I can develop and I can produce a television show. I mean, that's one of the things about working on the Conan show is I was helping produce a daily television show. I know how to make a television show.
Mm-hmm.
So I could adjust in that way. But early on, I always thought I'm from Chicago. I started out in commercials, mostly in production on commercials. And I just, I could always go to advertising. I always, there's jokes are jokes, and I could write jokes for a TV show. I can write jokes for Twitter. I can write jokes for a Dawn dishwashing detergent ad. That was always, I always had that to do too. So it's, there's some level of creative work that I could find a niche for myself.
Yeah. I know when I first came out to LA or was dreaming about coming out here, I always was like, okay, I'm going to get good at a lot of things because I need a lot of backup plans. If I fail at this, I'm going to be ready with this. If I fail at that, I'm going to be ready with that. So I always wonder. And, I know you've spoken publicly about mental health stuff. I wonder what that journey was like for you, where it started, because what we do here every single day is we're talking about our health, whether it's mental, physical, emotional, spiritual. And we hear a lot about comedians and mental health. And sometimes they're even like in the middle of a comics act, they'll talk about how it kind of goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think generally speaking, comedians are, and it varies, but comedians, especially stand-up comedians, are a miserable bunch. But even like improv comedians, it's very rare that you come across a really funny, good comedian person who is just like well put together and has a great relationship with their parents and isn't plagued by depression or anger or anxiety. It's just sort of happy-go-lucky person. And I think a part of that is because what makes you, I mean, you have the knack for being funny in the first place, but usually a core of being funny is complaining. Is like
I'm going to tell my husband that too. He says that I'm a complainer. I'm like, I'm funny actually.
Yeah. Well, no, but I mean, most comedians end up poking holes in things, making fun of things that need to be made fun of, whether it's a blowhard teacher or, some silly thing that your mom does, I mean, it usually comes down to you're scanning and you're seeing like, okay, where's their weakness? Where's there something wrong here? You look at it and you can, if you end up in a life of public service, like if you're some sort of crusading politician, you look at what's wrong and you try to fix it earnestly. Whereas if you're a comedian, you look at what's wrong and you crack a joke about it. You're a smart ass about it. And then I think it just builds from there. It just, it's a lot of noticing what's wrong with the world. And if you've got a list of what's wrong with the world that you can turn jokes into, there's a flip side to that, which is probably not real happy. If you're walking around with a list of complaints, and if you're walking around looking at like, well, things could be a lot better, that has a weight to it that begins to sort of, it gets heavy. And I don't know. I mean, I'm not a neurologist or a psychiatrist, but I mean, that's, to me, it's always, I mean, when I was a kid, I was always a funny kid, but there were like people that would say, kids, and when kids learn the word cynical, they'd be like, "You're so cynical." I'd be like, "No, I'm just, I mean, look, if there's, I'm just pointing out what's wrong, like, sorry that I'm not like, everything's great. Everything's, la-di-da. Yeah, boy, all my teachers are great. Like, no, some of them are kind of shouldn't even be teaching. And, and let's talk about it. And let's talk about it in a way that makes us laugh, because that actually is a lot more scary than talking about it in a serious way.
It's more scary to talk about it like that. That's funny.
Yeah, yeah.
We have a rule in our house. My husband's always like, comedy must rule. So
yeah,
no matter what it is, like the brain tumor, whatever, we have to laugh about it.
Yeah.
And we have to crack jokes about it. So it gets really like severe when, like a brain tumor happens and my best friend is like, would you just stop making jokes about this? This is not funny. And she's crying and I'm laughing. Like I'm singing jingles the night before surgery. It was the night before surgery and all through the house. Not a creature was happy. And she's like, shut up, stop it.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I mean, yeah, it's definitely a coping mechanism, and there's a lot worse coping mechanisms. I mean, I mean, that's always kind of been from, with like just, severe dysfunction in my childhood and people laughing about it, like ruined Thanksgivings that are just like, ha, 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 how drunk that guy was. And did you hear that scene? It's just what we do. It's just what, and I think a lot of people do it. I mean, people go to see comedies for a reason. It makes the world less scary in lots of ways. If you can laugh at it, you have a power over it. I mean, I'm sure that, that's when you got a brain tumor, if you can laugh at your brain tumor, it doesn't seem so scary,
Yeah.
Because you're laughing at it. It's something that you're laughing at,
I really
you could laugh
that.
in Dracula's face. Dracula wouldn't be that scary,
Yeah, I think you're right. It's actually a really great quote. If you can laugh at it, you take the power back.
Yeah.
I think that's really, really poignant. And maybe that's what we're always trying to do, because when something bad happens and you go into, like, I can't believe this is happening, which is essentially like a victim mode, you're giving away your power. So what a cool way to take it back is with a little comedy.
Yeah. I mean, everything in moderation. You can't do it. You can't do it with everything.
I did it with a brain tumor, Andy.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty good.
But that's a pretty good one. But you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like, you can't laugh at everything. Like when your partner says, I have a problem with this, you can't laugh in their face about everything. That's not good.
I only laugh at like 80%.
Yeah. Well, you're giving him 20%. That's something.
That's funny. I live to make people laugh, especially my husband. If I can get him to laugh, it just makes my whole day, because he's not like a big laugher. So
yeah.
So do you have any like mental health tips, mental health practices that you have learned that have been helpful to you?
Just don't be afraid to seek out help. Don't sit on misery. I mean, one of the things I always say, you wouldn't walk around with a broken leg.
Mm-hmm.
If there's a bone sticking out of your leg, you're not going to be like, I'll get over it. Like, it's just, I'm being weak. If I was more like my dad and strong and stoic, this broken leg you got a broken leg. You go get a cast on it. And if you're depressed, if you're anxious, if you're paralyzed by some kind of emotional roller coaster that you cannot control, you need to get help with it. And that is a professional. And especially there's so many different ways to get help and affordable ways to get help. I mean, that's why I
know there's an affordable one that you had mentioned, I think, that I started sending people this morning because it was in my research.
Yeah, I do ads for BetterHelp.
Yeah.
And it's, you get it's a sliding scale. And you don't have to, you can do it from home. You can do it over the internet. You don't even have to see the person if you don't want to see the person. I mean, I don't want to, wasn't
it like $30 to $60 a month or an hour or something?
I'm not exactly sure of the price now, but they do, but it's very reasonably priced, much more reasonably priced than in-person therapy. But even if you don't want to do that, most places you can find, and unfortunately, some of them have waiting lists, but you can find if you call therapists and ask about a sliding scale, which is paying what you can afford. There are places that do it. There are charitable organizations in your town, or sort of like subsidized therapy centers in a lot of places. It's worth seeking out. It's one of the things that I really, truly, one of the reasons that I wish we had universal health care was for mental health care, because there are so many things that plague us, like poverty is one. Like, I feel like if they were, and if I ever made $1 gazillion and I could have a really big charity, it would be getting mental health help to poverty-stricken people, because I don't know how you get out of poverty when you are dealing with clinical depression. And in order to, there's a chicken and egg there, kind of thing. And there have been studies too about so many people that are living below the poverty line, and how much mental health care is really desperately needed, and how many people are suffering from different mental illnesses, that it would just, I can't imagine there being a better way to spend money than on that. And when and when I also just think when you elevate the mental health of the citizenry, it's going to be good for everybody. It's going to, it just makes sense. It makes sense. If you can look at it in your family and think, somebody that's prone to violence or somebody that has addiction issues, if they can get more mentally healthy, the family is happier, and there's less violence, and there's less anger, and there's less, easier handle on addiction issues. And you just extrapolate that out into the world, and it's the same thing. If people just had better access to mental health care and a better handle on getting to a healthier place mentally, it would be a much better world.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we're definitely in a crisis now, but it's only getting worse.
Yeah. It's a crazy time. It's a crazy time. It's a crazy time with a lot of where a lot of stuff just doesn't even make sense. Like there's like such cognitive dissonance about so much stuff that is going on.
Yeah.
That, you do think like, boy, the whole country could sit down for a shrink session. It sure seems like it needed.
Yeah, I think we could all benefit from a little bit of help. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So your podcast, The 3 Questions with Andy Richter, how long ago did you start that?
I think about 3 years ago. Yeah, I think 3 years. But yeah, it's been going great. And the idea behind it is, again, it was kind of based on the notion of therapy, and because I believe in it so much, and I've been doing it for so long, and it's done such, it provides me with a sense of structure in my life, and the main thing is a sense of progress. I feel like I'm always getting a little bit better. There's not huge leaps. I mean, occasionally you can feel like, wow, big breakthrough, but usually they're just like little ones. It's just like you talk about, and it's not like somebody's telling you what to do. It's not like you go and say, hey, daddy, or hey, mommy, here's my problem. And they say, well, here's what you should do. There's a little bit of that, but mostly what you're doing is you're sitting and you're talking about yourself, and you're putting into words things that you've been thinking about, things that you've been feeling. But there's something about the act of putting those thoughts and feelings into words in front of a objective stranger that you're paying to. That's another component of it that's kind of necessary, because you can't just do this with your friends. You got to be paying somebody, because then there's true selflessness. You're like, damn it, I'm paying you. This is about me. You don't have to care about them that much. And you find out, you say things, I so many times in my life have talked about something that I've been thinking about, stewing about, and just there's something about bringing it into words. I'm like, wait, I'm missing this whole big aspect of it that makes it so much easier, that puts it such clarity on it. Why didn't I think of that? Oh, because I didn't ever say it. I didn't ever talk it. So I kind of wanted that to be, I wanted to trick people into having a therapy session, basically. And
Andy.
And so the 3 questions are, like a junior, amateur session. I'm not prescribing things. But because
Mini driver, did you know that
why are you? Here's why you're like the way you are. No, the 3 questions are: where do you come from? Where are you going? And what have you learned? And I don't specifically ask that's just sort of, that creates the framework of the conversation. But I do think that with those questions, you're kind of covering a lot of self-examination and a lot of just kind of self-analysis. And it's always an interesting conversation to me when somebody talks about what they've been through and how it's made them who they are, and what they like and what they don't like about that. Like that kind of stuff never gets boring to me. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of just, it's played for laughs. Obviously it's meant to mostly be funny and fun. And I think you can, I make my therapist laugh all the time. That's one of the most rewarding laughs you can get, is from your therapist. But it's really a fun conversation. I always enjoy doing it. because and especially when people are willing to, go there with me, I guess is, the corny phrase to use. But if they're willing to really kind of, yeah, all right, sure. Let's open up the control panel and see how the wiring works. It can actually be kind of fun,
Has anyone surprised you?
Well, yeah, like something, I just had speaking of Jackass, Steve-O was on, I don't know, maybe a month or so ago. And, a really amazingly thoughtful, philosophical, deep guy. And there was just some things that he said that I still think about, that are, that just are, wonderful philosophies about, and it's, and when you think about, because he's been through, I mean, he basically has made a living out of destroying himself, and he nearly did destroy himself with addiction issues. And he came back from it, but he decided he wanted to do stand-up comedy, and he didn't want to do it half-assed. He wanted to really do it. So he's really devoted himself to being a stand-up comedian, and really, he's an incredibly earnest, hardworking person. And, but like in a,
the juxtaposition is funny. Yeah.
I mean, throwing, I get,
having a crocodile bite your balls and all
whatever
the things that they do.
Yeah. That's, I mean, as far as, getting on a roof and like hammering in, shingles on a 102-degree day, that's really hard work. So yeah, having a crocodile bite your balls too, that's hard work too. It's like you're getting paid for it. It's unpleasant. It's dangerous. It's not fun. So yeah, I mean, that's work. He's entertaining in a way that like I would never do. I wouldn't put on shrimp-filled underwear around a bunch of sharks,
Oh my God.
I wouldn't get shot on a slingshot in a porta potty, a full porta potty. That's,
if they asked you to guest on Jackass, but you couldn't have any like
warning and stuff.
Yeah, no say in what they do, would you do it?
I would have done it in a heartbeat if I were younger, but now I just worry about injury. Like,
I need my balls now.
Yes. Yeah. Or just like, I do not want to blow out my knee for, for Jackass. 10 or 15 years ago. All right, sure. Yeah. Let's do it. But like, no, I got too many aches and pains. I don't want to, but I mean, as a young comedian doing pratfalls, I used to do pratfalls at parties just for a laugh, fall down a flight of stairs. And you kind of learn how to do it. Like you kind of, through being a fan of pro wrestling and stuff, you kind of have ideas of how to do that stuff. And then you reach, kind of like your mid 30s and you're still doing it. And then it's like that one time where you're like, oh man, that hurts. And it's hurt for a month now. You just don't heal up like you used to.
I didn't know you were a WWE fan.
I mean, I have been throughout my life. I don't watch, with any regularity now, but I have as a kid and and then my young adulthood. I mean, I do. Wrestling is
love.
Yeah.
Me
it's
too.
just, it's nothing like it. There's just nothing like it. It's theater and it's sports and it's violence and it's dance and it's acrobatics and, and also just really, really fun. Just fun. Just,
Yep. Well, I had a stint there. I did
I remember. I knew you did something. Yeah, you were you're actually a wrestler there for a while. How did that come about?
Well, they were doing guest host for Monday Night Raw. And they called and asked, and I said on one condition, I want to wrestle, and they didn't take me seriously. So I went and got a coach, and I started working with him in his backyard in Van Nuys, California. And I showed up one day, and I'm like, for Monday Night Raw, and I go, okay, I have moves. I know what to do. And they're like, what? So they put me in the ring and I ended up wrestling that night. And then I kept the storyline going because I'm such a fan. I know how to do it. So I was egging the girls on and doing things through social. And so it culminated with a WrestleMania appearance. But I mention it because the Jackass guys were there this year.
Yeah, Knoxville, you know,
it was epic.
It's doing the full on thing. Yeah.
Oh my God. It was epic. And I was freaking out because I'm a huge Jackass fan. Like I am forever going to be a 10-year-old boy inside of my body. And I live for these movies. They make me and my dad just watch them together and we cry laughing. It's like my favorite thing. So I had a countdown calendar for this movie.
It's my daughter and I have the same thing.
Yeah.
My daughter and I have this. And in fact, when we went to it, my ex-wife came. It was like the three of us went together. So it's like, and the three of us haven't done anything, you know. I mean, we've been split for going on 4 years now, and we're kind of getting to a point where we can kind of do that. But yeah, for Jackass, okay, yeah, we can we can go there together.
Come together in everybody else's pain. Forget about any of ours.
Exactly.
I love it. Any big guests coming up that you're excited about?
Jack Black, Michael Cera's on today. I'm talking to Jack Black soon. I'm talking to Christina Ricci soon.
Very cool.
Jake Tapper is coming on. I spoke to Katie Tur. She hasn't been on yet. We recorded that one. So yeah, I'm getting like a good mix of different kinds of people, rather than just comedians.
Yeah.
Because I mean, comedians are fun to talk to, but it does kind of get the same. Like I kind of there was a point where I was like, okay, enough stand-ups. Like, because it's kind of, everybody's story is different, and with stand-ups, in some ways, everybody's story is the same. They started doing the clubs, and then it's kind of like, okay.
Yeah.
All right. We've heard this one,
There's a lot of good advice on the podcast too. Like I was even listening to the clip with Minnie Driver, and just hear you guys talk about advice for young people who want to get into the business. It's like, go be around the people doing it.
Yes.
And eventually something will come, something will happen. I say the same thing to our audience when they're saying like, I can't find my people. I'm like, go to the places where your people could be, whether it's a yoga class or some naturopathic, store or whatever,
or a tavern,
or
a country Western bar, or,
wherever your people are, go to your people.
Or the skate park, or, I mean, or, like horror movies, and there's like some horror movie festival. You got to figure out what you like. And then think about, you got to think about it in kind of like a calculated way, which doesn't seem romantic or whatever, but it's like, but if you're really looking for your tribe, you got to think about it. You got to think, like a detective, like, how do I track these people down and how do I get in on it? Because that's just how it is, And if you're young, it's always good. Classes are always a good way. I mean, they're a good way if you're older too, but if you're young, you can, interested in movies, take some film classes, interested in dance, take some dance classes, even if you're not a good dancer, you just want to be around dance. That's the thing too, with a lot of, there's a lot of support needed in a lot of these kinds of areas too. Like, not everybody in show business is in front of the camera, but they love being around it,
Yep. Yeah. So good advice on the show and great conversation. So make sure you guys listen to the 3 questions with Andy Richter. New episodes are every Tuesday.
Oh my God. What happened?
It's an alert.
Wow.
And before I let you go, I want to know your top 3 shows on TV right now that you love.
Oh, golly. The right now one, Pachinko. I really like Pachinko a lot. Better Call Saul.
Oh yeah.
I'm still hanging around waiting for that. And I I missed a season or two of Stranger Things, but I watched this last one with my daughter, and I'm really kind of into it again. And I sort of, she filled me in on the couple of seasons that I missed. And so I feel like I'm back up to speed, but there's just so much going on, and it's so fun and so big and ridiculous that I'm, and those are just coming up too. So we're going to watch those together.
I love it.
So those are ones.
I just happened upon one that you might like called Smiling Friends. It's animated.
I don't know it.
Animated. I believe it's Adult Swim. And we're obsessed with it.
Yeah.
So
I don't watch a lot of comedies for some reason. I feel like it's, I feel like it's like a plumber going home and watching HGTV. It's,
really?
Yeah. There's sometimes I can't enjoy it the way just anybody would enjoy it. I see the seams. I see what goes into it. I see, like, oh, I know what you're trying to do at that joke and that kind of stuff.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. But so yeah, I just saw like the mini series of Under the Banner of Heaven. I watched that, which is like it's about based on a true crime story about some murders within the Mormon community. And it's not exactly a really rosy picture of Mormonism. And I have some Mormon friends, and it's kind of, it's like if you did a story about Christianity, but just focused on snake handlers, it's like they're kind of focusing on the most extreme aspect of it, but it was pretty good. I always like a murder or two, throwing a murder or two in there. There's always a lot of, it keeps me going, keeps my interest.
I love it. Andy, thank you so much.
Thank you, Maria.
All right, friends, queens.
So fun.
How dare I refer to you as friends? Queen.
Yeah, so rude. That was fun, Maria. I really like sometimes episodes like that. We need them. We need to throw them in there. And I feel like it always goes back to like the two friends having a conversation, right? It's like, and we're flies on the wall, but I really love it. And I love someone like an Andy who you always see in this comedy world, like talking about like getting deep and talking about the mental health and tricking his friends into therapy sessions. I just think, I don't know, I really, really enjoyed that. And it was a like light, easy listen, but I also learned so much, which is always so fun.
Thanks. Yeah. I felt like I was having, a chat nobody was listening to with Andy Richter, which is fun. But I really liked that notion. We always had comedy must rule because, life is hard sometimes and, let's just have some fun with it. But I like his notion of like, you take your power back. And I think for everybody listening in this Heal Squad, that could be a great tool for somebody. Now, it's not meant for everybody. Not all tools are for everybody. My dad doesn't let me use the chainsaw, but like, he also doesn't let me use his new lawnmower, but that's a different story.
Oh my
God. Not all tools are for everybody, but I do think if it resonates with you, it's a great way to live. So, I'm now going to think about it in those terms. So
me too.
I'm really grateful for that takeaway.
Yeah, I loved that. I loved it a lot.
All right. Well, in the meantime, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. We're so grateful for every single one of you who do. We read every single one of them. Queen, we haven't called out any in a long time, I feel like.
Our people?
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to do it. We'll do it this week on a chat show.
Okay, cool.
We'll give them shout outs.
Yes, because they're really, really well thought, well written, and just so kind.
Yeah.
Also, mariamenounos.com. We have the life hack blogs there. So every episode, the team dissects and grabs all the aha moments so that you can just enjoy your listen if you're listening, or enjoy your view if you're viewing. But the blogs are there for you guys to be able to grab all of the meaningful takeaway, as well as the shop page, which has all the fun stuff that I'm obsessed with, the stuff I use and that I love. And anytime something new comes into my life that I'm obsessed with, we throw on there, like how I'm organizing my purse now, which will be a really great blog because I am just I think I finally unlocked the mystery of how to organize my purse. And it's really making me very happy, all the way to fashion and skincare and stuff like that. So check that out as well when you have a chance. In the meantime, be nice people, make good choices, and be present.